Hey, thanks for checking out this video. I figured it would be cool to share some time lapse of some machining. So here today I'm making Seekins PH3 ARCA rails on my Haas TM2 CNC mill. So I started making Seekins rails about 2 years ago when a buddy of mine with a Seekins PH2 had seen the shark fin ARCA rail that I developed and decided that he needed one to go on his PH2. So I drew up the part, designed it, made it fit his rifle, and after making the shark fin version, people were like, hey, could you make an even lighter weight basic ARCA rail? So I started making those, and that kind of evolved into making rails to fit all kinds of rifles. But now that the Seekins PH3 has been released, we're making rails to fit it. So here I've got a billet piece of aluminum, 60-61, 1.5 by 1/2 inch by 12-inch piece of material, and I'm machining it to be an ARCA rail. So now here you can see I'm running the dovetail cutter to cut the actual dovetail into the rail itself. So an ARCA rail is a 45-degree dovetail, and that's the profile that the actual clamps of the ARCA clamp actually grab. So the other critical dimension would be the top surface of the rail, and that I cut with a large 2-inch face mill to ensure I've got a nice, really clean, flat surface so that that clamp can index with proper clamping force onto the rail. I put a lot of effort into trying to skeletonizing these rails and making them as light as possible. This rail, when it's finished, is under 4 ounces. So as you can see, I've certainly put a lot of effort into making these rails pretty light. So now here I've got a 3-flute 3/8 end mill going in to rough out most of the second side of this part here. I do most of my roughing with that end mill, and it tends to leave a real nice finish for both roughing and finishing. The other thing I'll point out is that when I bought this mill, it was supposed to come with a coolant pump set up, and it was a factory option on this machine when it was produced new, but when I bought it, the seller did not provide that coolant pump. So I went ahead and got a proximity switch and mounted it on the machine so that as the cover that covers the Z-axis comes down, it would then turn on my coolant pump, which is a separate pump in a separate tank. But it was just a cool kind of home-built way to add coolant back onto a machine that originally came with it. So now that I'm done deburring, I have a finished part here. So here's me just showing the Seekins PH3 ARCA rail. Seekins finally standardized their mounting on the bottom, so they've swapped to a traditional M-lock setup. So now this rail will fit all models of the PH3, whereas before the PH2 rail would only fit the PH2 NRL edition. And here you can see some photos of the finished rail. On the bottom, there's a cutout around the M-lock slots and up near the front so that that rail can actually nest lower onto that Seekins stock because it has like a protrusion on the bottom where the M-lock rail sits. I've also allowed room in a cutout in the front of the rail so that you can still use your factory QD swing swivel in the front, and that way you still have both your factory sling points available. Lastly, here's a photo of my shark fin ARCA rail for the Seekins PH3. This gives you a more stable shooting platform in an ultra lightweight package while still maintaining the ability to clamp in to a tripod or to run your bipod all the way back. This rail is an excellent option for NRL Hunter. It weighs under 5 ounces, gives you extra stability, and doesn't compromise all the functionality of a standard ARCA rail. So if you'd like to purchase either a Seekins PH3 ARCA rail or Seekins PH3 shark fin ARCA rail, please visit my website, servoscustomfirearms.com. Thank you very much.